Hello water polo fans, welcome to Ryde Aquatic Centre on a very hot and humid day in Sydney for our fifth playoff match of the Men's Super League finals. I'm Nick Watkins and I have the absolute pleasure of commentating a number of games for you today. Unfortunately, my usual partner in crime, Lulu Gaither, is preparing for the women's finals. And so you're going to be stuck with my somewhat nasally tones for the next couple of hours. My toddler, bless his cotton socks, decided to bring home a plethora of germs from daycare this week, so I'm fighting off a bit of a flu. And hopefully you can put up with my Kermit the Frog voice for just a little while. As mentioned, today's match is for fifth position, featuring University of Queensland versus Singapore. Two teams have had to travel quite a distance to get here, and consequently we've had a number of adjustments to the team lists, and we'll do our best to bring you the lineup shortly. In addition to sounding like I've been slurping down a helium balloon, we have had a little bit of technical difficulties in the pool, with the city of Ryde putting up a glorious concrete bunker and preventing most Wi-Fi from coming in. So I'll be doing my best to give you player statistics as we go. However, we don't necessarily have full access to the team sheet. This is the second day of finals, with the quarterfinals being held last night across Sydney at St Cath's School for the women's competition and Pymble Ladies College for the men's. Cronulla men putting on a very dominating performance against Singapore, taking the victory 25-9, and Sydney University equally up to the challenge against University of Queensland, winning 15-10. I do apologise if we're slightly out of sync with the live feed that you're being shown. But first off, just wanted to welcome all of our viewers from around the country and the world, with a very special and solemn welcome to our Queensland viewers. We understand that there's been a tragic loss of one of your members over the last week, and as a result, the University of Queensland team are retiring cap number 7 for this match. As referee Volch gets us underway, swim-off is won by Singapore, and so they'll have the first bite of the cherry. It's been a great opportunity for both of these teams joining what was the Sydney Super League, and probably needs to be rebranded as Super League in general. And probably one of the biggest commutes for Singapore, but they're not showing any signs of lethargy. There's a brilliant pass off that left-hand wing straight to centre forward, earning an exclusion. And they're looking to slide an offset to the left-hand side of the field here. Unfortunately, getting caught with the ball. It's a very rare moment that you see the number 2 post, so that's the left-hand post, drifting across in front of his counterpart on the 3 post. And it just made it a little bit too easy for the UQ defenders. So they're able to now push up in attack. The ball stuck down on the wing. Big long cross pass over the top there. Koon De Jong sitting up out top. Down past wing, looking for the centre forward, but Singapore has done an excellent job marking up here, and so they're forced to take a soft glob cross cage. And relatively easy task for the Singaporean goalkeeper, Lee. So Singapore back up in attack now. Looking to bring on the centre forward. It worked well for them in the first attack. A nice big wind-up attempt shot there from Singapore's number 12. That's Kai. However, not the best position for a right-hander to be shooting from. We've gone through that a couple times over this weekend. Typically, if you're a right-hander on the right wing, you have less of an angle. And similarly for left-handers on the left wing. So UQ are able to come up with the ball, and they're pushing up taking a fair bit of space as Singapore are playing a zone defense on the centre forward, which gives plenty of room out top for the UQ team to take a shot. And Jennison unable to convert, well blocked by Singapore. So they'll trudge back up to the end of the pool. They managed to get the ball into Valencia there, but pushing off outside of the water, making it very easy call for the referees, giving an offensive turnover. And UQ calling a number of flying subs on the side of the pool. If you're relatively new to water polo, or you haven't played for a while, in the last couple of years, World Aquatics has introduced the ability of a flying sub. It means they can swap with their teammates anywhere up to halfway without having to go back to the corner box. As the ball moves down to the right wing for UQ. A relatively easy task for the Singaporean goalkeeper as they look to move it up the left-hand side of the field now, potentially trying to bring on the centre forward, but no one in there at the moment, so they're moving it back around the perimeter. And we'll see an inside drive here. Nice little play from number 9, getting it to the wing and trying to get front water, but UQ up for the challenge, slowing the ball down, and it makes it a lot harder to get it around to the drive or the centre forward when you have to take your time. This ball moves back up around the top for UQ. Singapore is sitting in their traditional 3-back zone defense, so UQ have sent 2 centre forwards in here at the moment. There's plenty of space, plenty of time out top, and that's Toby Gould, number 8 for UQ. Just given way too much time, too much space there in front of goals. And it's a tough ask for the defenders when they're being told that they're zoning, which means coming back and helping the centre back. They're then actually required to step back out to the man with the ball. Otherwise, their goalkeeper ends up flapping around like a wounded seagull. It was too easy to put the ball in the back of the net. So Singapore, down by 1. They'll be looking to convert early here. As De Jong sitting up nice and strong. Balks slightly fends off the defender and manages to get it cross cage. Apologies, I might have said that was De Jong. The scorecard I've got here says low. We'll try and get clarity of the correct scorecard at quarter time. Nonetheless, it's 1 apiece. Very early in the game, plenty of water polo to go after what has been a very grueling season for every team, especially those that are also playing in AWL. As UQ, great job getting the ball in deep, putting the ball in the centre forward, and that is a fantastic goal from Toby Gould there. He had to work really hard, managed to hold position, and was fed the ball from Jennison, who was extremely patient on the wing, managed to release, waited for his centre forward to post up, and then despite a couple players crashing back on him, Gould able to turn, shoot cross cage and stretch in front 2-1 for University of Queensland. As mentioned, we've had a slightly different format to both the Super League and the Australian Water Polo League this year, which has been a big ask for players and officials, with sometimes up to 8 or 9 games in a fortnight period. As University of Queensland sent to the naughty corner, a little bit too much of a heavy foul, caught behind a little bit there. And let's see what the Singaporean men's team can do as they move the ball around the perimeter very nicely. And it ends up being quite an easy goal there for Valencia, number 7. And again, to our Singaporean and Queensland fans, I do apologise if some of the name calling slightly off. We've got a few different scorecards floating around the pool, so we'll try and tighten that up at halftime. Nonetheless, really good patience from Singapore there. They managed to work the defenders, move the ball the whole way around the perimeter. And when you're a player down, that's exactly what you want to do. We saw in the women's quarterfinals last night, a number of teams across both matches rushing the extra player attack a little bit too much, not moving the ball enough to offset the defense. Singapore doing a really good job there. So we'll see what Queensland can do here. It's a long way out. Big sit up there from Ashton Brown, but straight to the goalie's breadbasket and a relatively easy save. Sees Ken Chow in goals, getting rewarded for his stat sheet. Singapore are playing a really wide mushroom here on the right side of the field, looking to bring on that second centre forward. Isaac Lee, number 3 for Singapore. He's a big man. I saw him on the side of the pool before. Had to crane my neck all the way backwards, and he had pretty good position there, but unable to get the ball in cleanly, and the UQ defender's doing a great job. Had a slight break here, but needed to pull a sub at halfway. So they'll slow down, reset. They're sticking with this double centre forward attack, trying to offset or counteract the Singaporean zone defence, and it's worked really well there. Toby Gould earning the exclusion. He's been busy this first quarter, has Gould. Looks like a bit of a handful at centre forward. And Singaporean defender, number 5, sent to the bin. There's no harm done then, as Chow's managed to pull it down again and again. Up he comes like Christ the Redeemer. No ball manages to slip through. And Riley will be slightly disappointed there. He was on about 4 metres, plenty of space, plenty of time. But a couple of these Queensland shots going directly around the goalkeeper's head and making it pretty easy work for Chow. You see Singapore taking it into that deep wing again. That might have looked like a very wayward shot there, but I think it was actually well blocked by Jennison, sending the ball across the face of the goals. Now the ball coming up to Brown. Brown looking for his centre forward, but Singapore playing that zone defence again, has to pass it over the top to Jennison. Jennison looking for his post players, but they're wrapped up there like a child in a blanket, so they move it back around the perimeter. They're running out of time here, University of Queensland, only 5 seconds left. And that's brilliant awareness. Joey Gallagher, excellent pass in to Toby Gould. Good patient play from the young University of Queensland team. Very mature composure, I'm impressed with that. We've seen a lot of teams, even the more experienced ones during this competition, starting to panic a little bit as the clock runs down and choosing to sit up and shoot through a wall of arms, but not that time. As Gallagher finds Gould, lovely pull in, and it takes the score to 3-2. Singapore done another amazing job there, getting the ball to centre forward off a drive, but getting caught out slightly. Other Singaporeans. That's Randraja is number 8. He's listed on the team sheet as 10, but Randraja panicking a little bit. They had a lot of space and probably wasn't expecting the ball so soon in extra. He tried to force it back into his centre forward. But again, they come out unscathed as University of Queensland unable to convert on the counter-attack. And now Singapore have a giant counter-attack here if they choose to use it. As Riley for Queensland chooses to sit up in the Singaporean goals. So Singapore will play 5-on-5 here, and now moving into 5-on-4. That was Reef Potter being sent to the bin. And as the clock winds down, that takes us to the end of the first quarter. University of Queensland up 3-2. And it was a relatively good start from both teams. We saw some moments of brilliance. I was a really big fan of that patient pull-on scored by Gould, passed by Gallagher, University of Queensland there. Shows a bit of composure that they might have been lacking in a few other attacks. We've seen a number of their shots go directly through to the keeper, despite having a fair bit of time and space in front of goals. So we anticipate that Akos Yonchi Hungarian coach for University of Queensland, will be just asking his young boys to slow down a little bit. They are getting up there with plenty of time and finding themselves with a fair bit of space in front of goals, especially since Singapore are choosing to play a zone defence. What Hungarian coach will be asking for in this moment is to move the ball around the perimeter. Move the ball, move the defence, and then look for a quick shot off the hand as we've managed to offset. Or conversely, as they started to do in the second half of that first quarter, play a driving second centre forward, and it's paid off a couple of times for them. Singaporean coach Ken Tar having a word with his players at the moment. They've been favouring the right-hand side of the pool, which is typically a move used by teams lacking in left-handers. You see a number of their faster players moving the ball into the deep right wing and then trying to drive from out top, playing that second centre forward or get a bit of front water. They have been rewarded for it a couple of times, a few exclusions. So we anticipate that they'll try and play their traditional fast, agile attack, look to move a little bit more, and then, where possible, bring on their big centre forward, number 3. So number 3 on the team sheet I have today is Derek Chan. I believe it's listed as Lee on our infographic. Mentioned at the start of the first quarter, both teams are a little bit short. It's a big trip coming from Queensland, let alone all the way from Singapore. So we've had a last-minute shuffle of players, and it's a good opportunity for the younger players on both teams to get a bit more experience in this 5th position playoff in Sydney Super League. Singapore starting off in defence. UQ haven't quite got a centre forward in on the 2 metres now, which means their perimeter's pushed out all the way to halfway, but they're managing to squeeze up now. That's a booming cross-cage shot there from Gould once again, and he pretty happy with himself, gives a little fist pump to his bench. I almost tripped over the commentator's curse again, saying that you don't want to be shooting from out there, but I've learnt from my mistakes throughout this season. Every time I seem to say something, the exact opposite happens. And Singapore looking to bring on their centre forward, but a little case of butterfingers there. Possibly a bit too much sunblock unnecessarily applied for this indoor pool, Ryde Aquatic Centre. We've got Randraja out top, sits up nice and strong, but well pulled there, down there by Markart. Pretty comfortable save. He's covering the line well, and now his team got a nice break and counter-attack. We've got Gallagher sitting on about 3 metres. Lovely cross-cage bounce. And that's a big ask for the goalkeeper. Ken Chow looking at his defenders, maybe asking, what's going on, gents? Everyone knew that the shot was coming from out top. Rajandra was sitting up for a good couple of seconds, and so you'd normally hope that your wings are looking to cover there, but maybe they did, maybe they were too slow. Regardless, the University of Queensland able to capitalise on the counter-attack, and they take the lead 5-2. Singapore did a pretty good job sneaking the ball in there. That was Jonathan Wan getting the ball into centre forward, but University of Queensland played that crash back, and referees choosing not to reward the attack. And so that's a nice bit of defence. So no call for Singapore, and University of Queensland will push up again. Ball down deep win. This is Jennison. Nice pop pass to Gould. Gould, booming shot. But the second goalkeeper, aka the frame, steps into play. And it was a fortuitous bounce for Singapore. Regathered, back to Chow. Moves up the right-hand wing. Big long cross pass here. Stretching the ball over to Zahar. Got long limbs, that young man. Didn't see him before the game, but fair bit of stretch on him during that balk, and he manages to slip it past all of the defenders. But the game's MVP, the crossbar, coming into play for UQ now. That's 3 attacks back to back where we've had the crossbar get involved. And that's unfortunate for Queensland's number 11, Reef Potter. He had plenty of space, and it was definitely his shot, but didn't see the Singaporean defender coming behind, managing to knock the ball out of his hand. Now, interesting position here. Singapore had 2 centre forwards sitting on top of each other, but they've managed to rebalance and get the big Derek Chan into centre forward, but too little too late. By the time that they got their structure in place, they were forced to take an outside shot to no avail. Still 5-2, just under 5 minutes to go in this second quarter. And you can see a little bit of fatigue starting to set in for both teams now. I mentioned in the first quarter there was quite a few shots sent directly to Chow in goals for Singapore, and it's starting to occur at the other end against Marquardt for University of Queensland. So it suggests that players are a little bit tired, maybe not getting quite up on their legs, but that's a brilliant pass in there. Number 3, Derek Chan, we spoke about his size earlier, big strong play, but the real hero of that one is Jonathan Wan. Nice awareness. He got inside the 2 metres, which gave plenty of space for the centre forward as the wing defender was sucked out a little bit. And Valencia, number 5 for Singapore, able to convert that. So they're back within 2. And from what we've seen today, Adrian Valencia looks like a pretty handy outside shooter, but hasn't necessarily been able to get that many opportunities. We've seen him drive and play a second centre forward a few times, but needs a bit of a rest. So he's jumped out the other side of the pool, and his teammates will be left to try and close this 2-goal deficit. Singapore changing their defence a little bit now, dropping from that right-hand wing rather than the 3-back crash we saw in the first quarter, and it's paid off for them. They did manage to get the ball into centre forward, but it was picked off by the Singaporean defence. And then a relatively disappointing exclusion midfield for University of Queensland, and a nice looping cross pass to Zahar. Manages to squeeze it in short corner. And we're back within 1. Marquardt a little bit frustrated there. Looks cool as a cucumber, but had a bit of a word with his defenders. It's a really tough ask of the goalkeeper and the defending one wing to jump all the way across, and you hope your defenders will be able to take that down the line. But Zahar sitting up nice and strong. We spoke about his long legs, and he manages to get on the scoreboard. Score is 5-4, just under 4 minutes to go. But that's a really good play there from University of Queensland. This time it was Gould repaying the favour for his earlier cross pass and earning a nice exclusion and bringing himself on there. University of Queensland did a great job there, offsetting to the right-hand side of the field, and it all starts from the wing. If you imagine you're facing the goals and you need to understand the positioning, the left-hand wing is 1, the closest post is 2, 3, right-hand wing is 4, 5, 6 around in the clockwise direction. At least in Australia, the Americans like to change it up a little bit. In that instance, the right-hand wing, or number 4, did a really good job of drawing the players all the way to that side of the pool. Crisp ball movement from University of Queensland, and bring on Gould for yet another goal. Singapore looking to play that driving centre forward again, but University of Queensland sitting back a little bit off these 2 right-handers on the right wing. And a little attempted lob in there, trying to feed their centre forward. We saw that come off previously for Wan a couple of attacks before, but unable to stick the pass this time. So UQ able to push up in attack now. Ball down right wing. Slowly moving back around the perimeter. Singaporean defence fully crashed back now, so it's going to need to be a shot. And that's not where you want to be having it from. Despite Brown being a left-hander, and that's definitely the position where you want them, he was very much stuck inside the 2 metres with next to no angle there. Probably needed to throw the ball back out top and try and force a shot off the hand from outside. But they're rewarded with a corner, so Jennison swings back to halfway. Feeds it back down to his teammate, that's Cope. Cope back to Jennison. We've got 2 centre forwards in now, do UQ. And they managed to flick it through. There's a sneaky backhand from, I believe that was Russell Yarn. And well picked off by Chow. So yet another bite of the cherry for the university team. And we're seeing a slightly different tactic here as driving centre forward. That was really well done there. Angus Cope. So if you can see on the replay, Cope's driven in from the 1 position, which is the left-hand wing, and rather going directly to the centre forward position, he's veered back out slightly towards the top of the mushroom. In doing so, the defender follows and he's able to scissor kick back towards the goals. It's only the difference of half a metre, but when you're able to sneak that pass in, it makes a huge difference. And Jennison sat up nice and high. Chow spread his arms like an albatross. And once again, MVP, the cage of the goals, steps into play. Jennison unable to convert. So we're back to Singapore now. They're playing 2 centre forwards, looking to replicate slightly what University of Queensland have done. And goodness gracious, that is excellent ball movement there. I really like that goal. It's a perfect example of patience and being aware of where the players are coming from. We saw Rajandra driving in that second centre forward, sitting on the 2 post, which is on the left-hand side of the field. And he possibly could have received the ball early, but being a right-hander, they chose to spread it all the way to Jonathan Wan on the right-hand side of the pool. Crisp pass, straight back off the hand, and that's excellent movement, great awareness, great control. And we're back to 6-5. University of Queensland still in the lead, but Singaporean men's team is able to claw back this deficit. There's a fair bit of animation from the Singaporean bench. It looks like they've called the press and potentially caught themselves off guard a little bit. Gabriel Lau stuck at centre back there, number 9, and then possibly a bit confused with some of the calls from his bench. Seemed to give a little bit too much space to Queensland centre forward, and in the end it was an easy pass, pull on. Not much that Ken Chow, the goalkeeper for Singapore, could have done there. University of Queensland stretches the lead back to 2 goals, 7-5. With just over a minute to go in this second quarter, Singapore will be looking to hopefully close that lead by 1, but they've only got 5 seconds here, and that'll give University of Queensland a full attack to possibly take the lead to 3 going into the break. Which will be a massive morale killer, considering Singapore managed to scrape back to 1 goal just a few minutes before. Ball back to Marquardt, throwing it up the left-hand side of the field now. That's Gould. He's already got a couple today. He's been very busy in centre forward and around the perimeter. And unable to get the ball in. There was a few looks towards the referees, but they were pretty content that the defenders had their arms up. And once again, with the Singaporean team playing a crash back, that passing's got to be quite crisp. That's Rajaja, a big long pass over the top to Zahar. Zahar back out top to Kai. And a lovely pull on there. That was number 7, Wenze Go. That's about the 3rd or 4th pull on that we've seen across both teams today. I was a little bit surprised that Valencia didn't back himself to shoot. He had walked in from about 8 metres to definitely inside the 6 and chose to pass it back out to Raja, but that patience paying off once again with a really well-deserved and well-earned extra goal. With 10 seconds left, the deficit's now 1. Singapore will be hoping that they can hold this out as they come into half-time. The ball gets into Gould. He's a strong boy. He looked pretty close to turning Kai at centre-back, but Kai manages to hold out, and the shot goes sailing out of the goals. So both teams will have a 5-minute spell. Opportunity for the coaches to share some words of wisdom and for players to get a bit of fluids, possibly some energy goo. They both had a game last night against some pretty formidable teams, and to back up immediately today after what has been a really long season, not just in terms of the number of games, but the travel required by both of these teams. It's quite considerable. Started to see both teams mix up their gameplay a little bit in that second quarter. Singapore started the first playing a 3-back zone and encouraging the university players to try and shoot through them. It worked pretty well for a little while. University having to change their approach slightly, choosing to send in a second centre forward, and it ended up paying off quite well. We saw a few goals there from Gould and really good patient movement around the perimeter a couple times, resulting in a couple of exclusions. And equally, towards the end of that half, Singapore starting to play a second centre forward of their own, driving in. They're favouring the right-hand side of the pool, the Singaporean team. They're pretty fast, pretty nippy, and as they zigzag in on those drives, they are causing a little bit of trouble, but what worked in the first quarter started slowing down a little bit for them there in the second. One area that we anticipate that both coaches will be asking their players to focus on a little bit is to use the clock a bit more and to use that space. If the defenders are choosing to play a zone, regardless of the position, it means that those players around the perimeter and attack have a bit more time and space, either to move in, receive the ball off the hand and try and shoot immediately, or to slide away from the ball, try and catch their defender unaware and create a little bit more space. A little bit of lethargy setting in for both teams as well during that second quarter. Number of shots going straight to the breadbasket of both goalies. And interestingly, the most effective goal for both teams being a number of pull-ons, both from centre forward. Little cheeky push-off from University of Queensland. And then counterpunch in favour return by Singapore just towards the end of that quarter. We're going to take a quick breather and I'll be back with you with just under a minute to go before we start the second half. Welcome back to Ryde Aquatic Centre for the second half of this 5th position playoff for the 2025-26 Super League competition. With two visiting teams today, University of Queensland up against the Singaporean men, with University of Queensland managing to hold the lead going into half-time 7-6. I'm Nick Watkins, and I have the pleasure of being your solo commentator today. My partner in time, Lulu, gave her having a well-deserved rest as she's getting ready to play Super League finals for the Cronulla women's team, which means I've been tasked with the slightly difficult challenge of looking at 3 different scorecards, trying to call the game, figure out the controls. To be honest, it's pretty simple. There's just one mute button, and find my coffee. So I'll do my best to get underway, and I do apologise for the fans at home. The graphics that we have up on screen don't necessarily match the scorecard that we've got on pool deck, as University of Queensland manages to win the swim-off. And they'll look to stretch this lead early into the third quarter. Both teams down a number of their players. University of Queensland down some heavy hitters. And Singaporean men's team down about half their squad as well. So there's been some last-minute drastic changes for both, and the scorecard looks a little bit like Egyptian hieroglyphs at the moment, with scribbles everywhere. Nonetheless, it's been a nice competitive game so far. Oh, that's very disappointing for Marquardt in goals, as Wenzi Go manages to sit up nice and strong. It was blocked, and the ricochet goes straight over the head of Marquardt. Pretty well defended there by University of Queensland, but the deflection comes off in the favour of Singapore. So we're back to 7 apiece, and a little bit of chaos there in the middle of the pool as neither team knew where the ball were. But they managed to squeeze the ball in. I think that's Gould at centre forward once again, earning the 5-metre free throw. So that's Gallagher to Gould. Been impressed with this combination today. Seen Gallagher feed Gould a couple of times and Gould feed Gallagher, so a nice bit of chemistry between those two young men. And Angus Cope setting up to take this free shot. Lovely bounce top left. Quick shot, not taking too long to get out of the pool. And that'll be University of Queensland taking the lead again, 8-7. I believe that we've had a goalkeeper change for Singapore now. And I believe that's Darren Lee in goals. Again, apologies to friends and family back home if I've got these names wrong. I've got a few different scorecards we're working off, and that's brilliant play by Singapore. Not quite rewarded with where we thought, and even Gallagher thought he was being sent to the naughty corner for a second. Started swimming off and then realised the referee hadn't called it. And instead Gould being sent out there. So, nice duet, Gallagher and Gould, setting each other up and taking the exclusions for one another. But it was really well worked by Singapore. They got the ball deep wing, driving centre forward, manages to post up. An excellent conversion there. You saw the two attack players for Singapore out the top split. Number 10, Jonathan Wan, moving slightly to the right and gave plenty of space for his post to pop out there. That's known as the 3 post, the right-hand side post, in terms of positioning, and well executed. Gallagher looking around for his centre forward. Ball down to Jemison. De Jong moves it back around to Swift. Swift long pass over the top. Gallagher sitting up but unable to convert. So University of Queensland do manage to regain the ball. And you can see they're now playing a driving second centre forward. It's good work getting the ball in. And an easy exclusion there. Singaporean defender being caught behind with his hands down, too heavy. So almost the exact same play we saw from Singapore at the other end. De Jong passes around to Gallagher. Gallagher sits up, but well picked off by the new goalkeeper. Darren Lee tapping it over the goal line. So UQ managing to get an extra 18 seconds of attack here. And a fair bit of space for the big man at centre forward. That's Russell Yan, based on my scorecard. He did quite well to get a bit of space. Sat up nice and high on his legs. Did look like maybe his arm was giving the Singaporean defender a nice little friendly pat, possibly a little bit of a push. But the referees weren't too fussed. Play on. And University of Queensland takes the lead again, 9 goals to 8. So it's a good struggle here between both these teams. There's a bit of concern from the Singaporean bench that UQ are managing to stretch the lead a little bit. But an excellent response there. Adrandra managing to get it into Derek Chan, the big centre forward. That's a really good example again from the Singaporean team of being able to switch the ball across the different sides of the pool, working to where their centre forward or their drivers are facing. And it does show a fair degree of maturity and composure. What you often see from teams slightly less experienced or slightly less composed is they take the easy option. They try and pass it to the person who's free, which isn't always the person that needs to get the ball into the centre forward. And what most coaches will be asking their young players is, before you pass the ball, ask, is there a benefit to do so? Centre forwards facing the right-hand side of the pool, don't stick it down the left. De Jong sitting up out top. Jennison, back to De Jong. UQ throwing 2 centre forwards in there. De Jong forcing an outside shot. He sends it wide to the cage. This might be the biggest swim of the young Singaporean goalkeeper's life. He's almost on the 7 metres, God forbid. And a lovely little tap in there. Another nice team goal. Valencia had the ball, possibly could have shot that off the hand, but saw Wenzi go sitting in the middle, completely unmarked. Tapped it back to him. It wasn't pretty, but it was effective. And there we go. Singaporean team taking the lead for the first time this game, 10 goals to 9. And a slight delay to the start as UQ need to send an extra player into the field. Now Singapore playing that 3-back zone that we've seen all game. Starting to crowd the centre forward. There are 2 there, and the University of Queensland team have been doing a pretty good job to sneak it in despite the arms that are back. Ball out top to Jennison. Did well to shoot that off the hand. That's what you need to do. Clock was winding down. But didn't look like that he'd shifted his position too much. He'd been sitting point more or less the entire attack. Probably would have benefited from sliding slightly to the left. But the shot unable to get in. Now Singapore, 10 seconds left on the attack. Almost a mirror image of what we saw down the other end. I'm starting to think both coaches are sharing the same playbook. Second quarter, there was a number of effective pull-on goals for both teams. First quarter, too many shots at the goalie's chest, and this time, a few rush shots from outside. It's UQ looking to move the ball around the perimeter. Slightly crowded there, but a nice drive cross cage. It's Toby Gould once again. Certainly been UQ's most effective player today. Been quite impressed with him. Not just at the centre forward, plays quite well on the perimeter, but in that case, starting out on the perimeter, driving in. I actually missed how he did it. I'm not sure if he's extremely fast, but he looks strong, so you can assume that there's probably a bit of holding underwater and the referees can't see, which makes it perfectly legal. So Brown stepping up and converting. And with just over 3 minutes 30 to go in this third quarter, we should be even Steven, I believe. I'm just looking over at the clock currently. Hasn't been an extra goal put on, so they might have already beaten to it. Regardless, it's a good close competition. There we go. So they've just changed the scoreboard now. It's 10 goals apiece. And despite some tired legs starting to show with some questionable passes and a fair few shots going directly at goals or to the defender. Both teams are managing to convert here. And University of Queensland now forced to play a zone defence. Rajadra quite handy in the middle. And despite having a couple of players zoned back on him, manages to thread the needle, get the ball into the post and earn an exclusion. So Singapore now, quick shot, there was still 10 seconds left. We'll see if they can be a little bit more patient here. Attempted little flick pass over the top, unable to regather the ball. But it's not a concern for Isaac there. Sits up nice and strong, high out of the water, a couple of pump fakes. Tough one from Marquardt to stay out of the pool, and when you're shooting from about 3.5 metres, you expect that that's going to be a goal most of the time. So another slightly ugly example of 6-on-5 attack there from Singapore, but fortuitous regather of the ball meant that they're able to convert, and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what it looks like so long as it's effective. We've got an exclusion here. It's number 9 for Singapore, being sent to the corner for a 20-minute breather. I believe that was earned by Queensland's number 11, Reef Potter, and his teammates able to convert, bringing it back to 11 all. So Potter able to earn the exclusion there despite the ball not coming into the centre forward. Singaporean defence just getting a little bit too grabby, caught with their legs down. And Potter wearing his centre back like a backpack. Ends up getting the exclusion. A very slow restart here. We've just got a few too many players on the field. Possibly using it as an opportunity to suck in a few extra breaths. Singapore have got big Derek Chan in at centre forward, so UQ forced to play his own. He's a giant of a man, and it's going to require the Singaporean perimeter to move it around. Some nice crisp passes. Big long outside shot there by Rajra again. And it could have been a little bit of trouble. Singapore not necessarily covered up. University of Queensland had sent a player on a fast break, but the rebound's regathered and the defence is able, good attempt to get back. And they're in a pretty good position now as the clock's running down, only 5 seconds to go. And not the shot that Brown probably wanted to take there, but with only a second left and his team mostly covered, no harm in trying. There we go, the big man, Derek Lee. Nice patient attack. Singapore number 4. That's Isaac. Did really well to get the ball inside the 2 metres. And if you're relatively new to water polo, or if you're my 5th grade boys who still don't seem to understand, getting the ball inside the 2 on the wing means that the rest of your attack can push up even closer to the goals. And it forces the defence to offset slightly, meaning those passes to centre forward or to the second break coming through open up. And you saw Singapore executing that really well there. Singapore playing a full press here. They haven't done this at all game. And now they're forced back into a zone defence. Rajandra back there, but the ball managing to skip through anyway. And when's their go? Number 7 for Singapore being sent to the sideline. Referee's just asking UQ players to play the ball properly to start the extra attack. And that's a 5-metre penalty earned for the university team. So we're back to 12 goals apiece. That was Gould converting once again for University of Queensland. I'll try and get a stats count at three-quarter time. It's a little bit hard. We don't have the live feed. Ryde Aquatic Centre. Built like a bunker. No Wi-Fi sneaking in through these doors. Probably be charged pool entry if it did. So friends and family, apologies I can't give more of a breakdown of your loved ones. But Gould's certainly racked up a couple this game. And they managed to get the ball back into Lee. But smothering defence there from University of Queensland. 3 white caps all over Lee. And they've managed to turn this. This will be a nice fast break if they can get the ball up. But no one releasing for Queensland. Jennison eventually kicks out the side. But slow down is the call. Slightly crowded middle section for University of Queensland. So Jennison's forced to take the foul. Ball down to Cope. Cope throws a cross pass. He was involved with the nice play beforehand, earning that exclusion. But this time it doesn't come off, and now it's a big long pass up to Lee, who interestingly tried to turn a full 290 degrees rather than just taking the short turn. And a little bit too obvious of a hold. Looks like he's got about 100 kilos on Jennison, does Lee. So the referee calling an offensive for holding and turning. And then the quarter time whistle blows. 12 goals apiece in this 5th place playoff for the Super League men's competition. University of Queensland versus the Singaporean men's team. It's been a good contest so far. University of Queensland did look like they were stretching out in front early on. And they have won every encounter that they've had with Singapore in the competition so far. But the internationals certainly not giving up now. We saw once again a slight change of gameplay called by coach Ken Tarr that quarter, choosing to use his big man at centre forward a little bit more. Possibly noticing that some of his players starting to breathe a bit heavy, a few red cheeks out there, and so the driving centre forward that worked so well in the first half, both becoming a bit too laborious, and the University of Queensland team waking up to it. For the young university team, they're looking pretty threatening in attack. Just a couple of times where they're getting caught with the shot clock running down too low for them to do anything too threatening. And as a result, they're forced to take a few shots, both from outside or even on the wing. However, when they're getting the ball up there early in attack, which means a quick release, pass from the goalkeeper, push the ball inside the 2, it really is a big ask for the Singaporean team, especially with Gould swimming in as that driving centre forward. It's been a real handful today, and something that the University of Queensland will be looking to continue on in this 4th and final quarter. Referees have called for the ball. Just waiting for some players to take the pool. And we'll be getting underway momentarily. So the last 2 games these teams have played, University of Queensland coming up with a win both times. First time it was 15-10. The second time 18-17. So they'll be hoping to continue that 100% success rate here. With just under 8 minutes to go. Big long pass to Gallagher. Gallagher winds up, finds that cross cage again. Geez, the cross cage has been busy today. De Jong sitting up, nice strong cross cage shot. Manages to sneak it back into the net. It looks like the Singaporean team have changed the goalkeeper once again. And that's Ken Chow coming back in, after Darren Lee filled his spot during the 3rd quarter. And University of Queensland back in front, 13-12. Singapore playing a massive mushroom here. You can see those top players are back on halfway. The expectation to bring on big Darren Lee at centre forward. Rajendra sits up, but fouled inside, unable to shoot. They get the ball in. Lee sits up nice and strong, turns, deflected by the centre back. Rajandra sits up, tries to shoot cross cage, but blocked well by Jennison. Sends the ball flying out of the pool. So Marquardt able to send a big long loopy pass up to De Jong. De Jong scored from here a second before, and he does the same. So Kun De Jong must have had a look at the scorecard at the three-quarter time, realised he didn't like his stat count and figured he'd turn it up a notch, scoring 2 back-to-back and giving University of Queensland a bit of breathing room now, up 2 goals, but we've seen the Singapore team close this deficit a number of times today, so I wouldn't count them out too early. It is interesting to see that they played a very wide mushroom. What that means is the perimeter players are sitting a long way out, trying to give plenty of space for the centre forward. And you can see why. Big Lee at centre forward holding a lot of good space, but Singapore choosing to play the driver. And what that does is actually drags a number of defenders back into the centre forward. So Singapore are forced to move the ball around out top, but that's Wenze Go managing to convert from about the 6 metres there. That's his second or third for the game. Handy outside shooter. Nice and composed. You could see that they were looking to bring on Lee at centre forward. That must have been the game plan coming into the fourth quarter. But nice patience. Saw that UQ had sent in a few extra players to help the centre back. And so he manages to slot that one past Marquardt. And the score's back within 1. 14 to UQ, 13 to Singapore. That's Gallagher to Jennison. Jennison to De Jong. Looking for Gould at centre forward, but Singapore definitely playing his own defence here. De Jong tests his luck a third time and sends it wide that occasion. And so it'll be De Jong marking up against Wenze Go, 2 of the recent goal scorers for this quarter. Rajandra fouled outside, moves it back out top. They've still got Lee at centre forward, so UQ will have to be careful here. That's a lovely, lovely shot. Hong Kai sits up outside. Nice top corner. Marquardt having a bit of a chat with his defenders now. He says, boys, listen, we're playing a zone, that's fine, but you can't give him all that space and time out top. What you really want to be saying when you've got a number of players helping that centre back is working a little bit like a piston. So as your player comes in with the ball, you as the defender need to go attack it and then rely on your teammates to get back and then cover the centre. If not, the results can be what we just saw there. Beautiful outside shot. The ball gets into Gould. He works to turn, but he had about 615 defenders on him there, so unable to get away with it. And now one of the university players sent to the corner. That's Gallagher for a midfield exclusion. Bit of a coach killer there. You never want to see your players kicked out midfield. Singapore looking to bring her on the perimeter here. They've got an interesting extra man. I haven't seen this before. They have 2 post players sitting in the middle of the field, and then they look to offset slowly as they move the ball around the perimeter. There's obviously some logic to it. I'm merely the man on the mic and not the coach, but I haven't seen it come off too effectively yet, so possibly something they've been working on for a little while. I anticipate it's to try and get a little bit of front water from one of those defenders and look for a quick pop to the post, but I am able to convert there. So it remains 14 apiece, and Jennison sits up out top, but easily pulled down by Chow. He's had a good game. He did sit out the third quarter, but he's back in for the fourth and final. He's been pretty busy in there. The ball's fouled outside the perimeter on the deep left wing. Ball back to Zahar. Zahar forcing it down the right-hand side of the pool, with Rajandra driving centre forward, and it's excellent play. De Jong getting caught up there, hands down, and he's sent to the corner. And that's Wenze Go managing to work it around his defender. I believe that was Hugo Riley. Caught slightly out of position there, and he puts up his hand, waves apologetically to Marquardt. Marquardt, very calm goalkeeper. It's nice to see a goalie with a bit of restraint. Sometimes they can be awfully lippy for someone that doesn't have to do the swim sets. Marquardt acknowledges that his defender was out and says, that's all right, mate, get on with it. Ball back to Gallagher out top, and he manages to turn the defender here, so he's got a bit of front water. Unlucky not to earn an exclusion there. Oh, there we go. So while he wasn't sent to the bin for hitting Gallagher from behind, he was for not giving him enough space after the foul. And rather than wasting any time moving around the perimeter, sits up nice and strong. Joseph Gallagher. And gets another one for his tally. So whoever's doing the statistics later, a number of assists and goals for Gallagher. Him and Gould have been an excellent combination. Been very impressed with them. And we're back to 15 apiece, so very tight contest. You can start to see both benches getting a little bit nervous, starting to creep forward on the edge of their seats. Singapore looking to get it in extremely deep, possibly looking for Rajadra there. But caught with the ball was Jonathan Wan, and now it's sent up to the far end. And brilliant cross pass there by Gallagher, but unable to be converted. And now we've seen another midfield exclusion against the University of Queensland players. And Rajandra flicks the ball across to Jonathan Wan, number 2, and receives the cross pass back. Lovely shot off the hand, signals to his coach, I need a bit of a breather. And it's understandable, he's been busy, Rajandra, this game. And that was a fair bit of swimming. He's been going more or less 2 for 2 for the last quarter and a half. He's huffing and puffing like the big bad wolf as he walks back to his bench. So Valencia back on for Singapore, number 5. He'll be one to watch out for. Pretty handy outside shooter, and he's been a bit of a menace with his driving centre forward. A little bit frustrated with the ordinary foul being blown there. Comes back, conscious of Gould at centre forward. They move the ball deep wing, starting to flood that 2 metre zone with their second centre forward. Gallagher moves it back to Jennison. Jennison pressured, the clock's running out here. That's good defence from Singapore, and if they can move the ball up quickly they might have a bit of a break, but Valencia fouled, needs to move it back to Wan Zego. He scored a few from out here today, so they need to be careful, but they've also got Big Lee at centre forward. Marquardt does an excellent job there. Throws his arms up like my 2-year-old trying to give me a cuddle. Knocks the ball down as he does so. And just as well, Go's been quite dangerous from out top. Scored 2 or 3 this game. And a rare ordinary foul called at centre back there. Valencia dropping in from that right-hand wing. You need to be careful there. As Brown for University of Queensland left-hander, but they don't need to use him. As it looked like that 5 metre was awarded against the goalkeeper. And Brown's going to step up and try his luck. He's able to convert this. It'll bring it back to even. He does so. Nice quick shot off the hand there. No messing about. It's always an interesting tactic to watch what players will choose as they step up to take their free shot in the 5 metre. Some choosing to shoot quickly off the hand, not giving the goalkeeper time to come up out of the water or react. And you see some of those bigger, longer players doing a really long, slow wind-up, trying to make the goalkeeper lose their legs. Oh, that's a great play there. A lovely cross pass from Isaac to Wenze Go. I was just about to say, he looked a little bit crowded. He was sitting only a metre or so away from Lee at centre forward, but it looked like it might have been intentional. Trying to confuse the defenders a little bit. And possibly a set play. Quick, easy passing from Isaac. Shot off the hand from goal. And once again, the Singaporean sneak back out in front. So it's been a bit of a ping-pong game here. And Jennison long cross pass to Gallagher. Gallagher shoots off the hand. And that is the textbook example of sliding when your defender is not watching. So the Singaporean defender there on Gallagher was sitting back trying to help the centre forward. And as the ball moved around the opposite side of the field, defence wasn't paying attention. Gallagher moved only half a metre, but it opened up that shooting line. And he was able to slip it in. And unlucky cross pass there. Valencia throws his eyes up to the heavens. He knew he was on. If the pass stuck his hand, it would have been a goal or a 5 metre. But it's thrown a little bit too far. And now it's 17 apiece with 1:30 to go. De Jong out top for University of Queensland. Moves it to Gould, moves it to Gallagher. Plenty of space, but Chow. Yet another save. He's pulled down a number, has Chow, but quite a few of them being deflected either for a corner or regathered by UQ. So they're good saves, but he'll wish they were bouncing a bit more in his favour as Jennison caught down deep wing. Big long cross pass there. Another one for Chow. My hip flexors are sore from watching this. University of Queensland, 18 seconds as they take this corner throw in. Back out to Gallagher. You can see Gould looking for that pop pass. Back out to Gallagher. It's Jennison. He sits up, but well defended. I think that might have been by Gow there, or Rajendra again, who's back in and he's steaming up the middle of the pool, but no one releasing for Singapore. So the counter-attack breaks down and Rajendra forced to kick out back to Valencia, looking for Gow at centre forward, but University of Queensland's Gould absolutely bullying him at centre back, and he's got good front water, so the ball needs to go back out top. Now only 8 seconds left for Singapore. It's a bit of a nothing attack here, but never say never. They did pretty well to get it to the wing, but not needed. And Coach Arkosh Yonshi, Hungarian coach for University of Queensland, calls a timeout. There's only 33 seconds left in the game, and we're 17 apiece. So if University of Queensland are able to convert here and then hold Singapore out, it'll be the exact same score that these teams had back in round 13. University of Queensland winning 18-17 in that one. And it's a dangerous amount of time for a coach. 33 seconds left. You've got a couple options. You can try and wind down the whole clock and shoot at the end and hopefully give your opponent only a couple of seconds, which won't be enough to push up. Or you can try and get that lead early, noting that you might end up with a rebound or a corner if the shot doesn't come off. But in doing so, you risk giving your opponents a full 30 in front of your goals. So we'll see what the UQ bench have come up with here. Both teams must be absolutely knackered and hopefully don't want to be playing much more after this. So they look to get the job done here as Gallagher sits out top, passes to Jennison. Jennison down to De Jong. They've got a cross drive clearing centre forward here, and they're bringing on Gould coming in from the wing. He's fouled heavily, but he's outside. He's forced to play himself. Zaha sitting off that right wing for Singapore. And the exclusion earned. With now 10 seconds left, University of Queensland calls their second timeout. So they'll be in a much more comfortable position here on the bench. Everything's going in their favour. 10 seconds left. 6-on-5 attack. 10 seconds is plenty of time to score a goal. And no time at all for Singapore to steal it, swim the whole length of the pool and then put it away. Been a really good match from both of these teams. Quite even with the lead tic-tacking back and forth throughout the whole game. University of Queensland did manage to stretch it to a 2-goal lead early in that first half, and then Singapore getting 2-goal lead of their own. And now with 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter, we're neck and neck at 17 apiece. University of Queensland probably one attack to go. 6-on-5 attack. And you'd anticipate they'll be looking to bring on Gould, who's already started to wrap around as Jennison takes it in. De Jong will be looking to draw his defender out here. Gallagher sits out top. And Gould's forced to retreat back in. And the pass to the post, a little bit too slow. The buzzer goes. And now we're at 17 all. There's a 3-minute break. both coaches asking the referees what we're doing now. With Arkosh saying, oh, let's just call it. But it looks like we've got a 3-minute break and then possibly 2 3-minute quarters. Referee Volk was signalling. It doesn't look like they're asking either team for who's going to be taking penalties. So possibly a bit of extra time, possibly golden goal. And loyal listeners, I know what you know, which is not much unless you've got the rule book in front of you. So we wait with bated breath. Another 2 minutes to go. And this game's not quite done. Plenty of water polo happening this weekend, with more of the Super League semi-finals happening across Sydney, as well as the gold medal match for men's 2nd and 3rd grade and women's 2nd and 3rd grade. And then tomorrow, the day of days, gold medal match and bronze medal match for Sydney Super League. It's been a really good competition this year, and full kudos goes to Water Polo New South Wales. Bit of a coup staging this competition with New Zealand, Singapore and Queensland participating, as well as some teams coming up from Canberra. So it's been good to see some new faces and new teams in this competition. And it does look as though we're going to penalties now, as both players coming to the side of the pool. If you're not all water poloed out already, we've got the Australian Water Polo League finals starting next week, Thursday through to Sunday at Sydney Olympic Park. Which is an opportunity to see the best of the bests in the country come together. A couple of favourites in both the men's and women's competition. UNSW Wests far and wide out in front. I think with a week to go they were almost twice as many competition points as second place, and they'll be the red hot favourites once again. And the Cronulla women's team sitting top of the table, only 3 losses in Sydney Super League and 2 losses for them in AWL, makes them the favourites. Not always an easy ask going in with a target on your back, but really good opportunity for water polo fans, friends and family to get their fill, leading into the 2027 World Championships, which we're actually hosting in Australia. Tickets are going to go on sale, I believe, in April, possibly May, so keep an eye out for that. If you're a water polo fan, or parent of a young player, or an up-and-coming superstar, good opportunity. As we get underway with these penalties, as De Jong sets up and he's able to convert. And it looks like Rajandra coming over for Singapore, slowly kicking his way in front of goals. We'll see what Marquardt's got to offer. And Rajandra able to convert for Singapore, so it's 1-1. This is where test of composure and nerves really comes in, especially for the younger players who haven't had this opportunity. They're tired. They've played a big game last night as well. And Angus Cope stepping up for University of Queensland. It looks like Singaporean goalies are swapping out each attack. It's a tactic we saw from the Australian women's team recently. Possibly trying to give each other a bit of experience or throw the shooters into a bit of disarray. That's the first and second warning to the goalkeeper. Sent back on his line. Maybe trying to rattle the cage a little bit of Cope, but he's cool as a cucumber. And he's able to score, so it's 2 goals for University of Queensland. Wednesday Goss stepping up, Singapore. Takes his time to come out of the pool, and he's disappointed with that. That's the crossbar coming into play again. Goss scored a few already. So University of Queensland now 1 goal breathing room. And Toby Gould stepping up to take his shot. He's already scored number of goals today, being very handy in the pool. Oh. And there was a lot of excitement from the Singaporean bench there. Chow did a great job to get a hand to it. Gould's got a big cheeky smile on his face. He knows he's dodged a bullet there. He's scored goals all game with players hanging off his back, and with a bit of space and time in front of goals, almost overcooked the pie. Nonetheless, Gould manages to convert, and so does Isaac from Singapore. So University of Queensland still 1 goal in front. And Jennison stepping up now. Been impressed with Jennison today as well. Very active down the right-hand side of the pool. Tough position for the right-hander to play, but very aware young man. And a quick shot off the hand. Actually started with the ball out of the water there, which is a different tactic you typically see. A lot of players preferring to start with their hand on top of the ball, using it as a bit of leverage to bounce out and get that height. Jennison starting with the ball out, manages to get a quick shot away. Now the pressure's back on Singapore. This is Kai stepping up. He has scored already, but he can't afford to miss this one with his team down by 1 already. And that's a goal for Hong Kai, top left corner. And now we'll see Gallagher coming up to the cone. Gould's partner in crime. They've played very well together as a pair. But he's unable to convert there. Tried to go low. And Chow, who has been an absolute menace in the cage, probably saved Singapore 6 or 7 goals today, manages to get that. So we're back to even Stevens with 1 miss each, and this is Zaha stepping up for Singapore. He's got big long limbs, Zaha. I'm curious to see if he tries to get a quick shot away, or if he's going to take his time to come out and stretch to full width. And Marquardt looks like he's offsetting slightly to the left. I'm not sure if he knows if he's doing that intentionally. Looks like he's re-centered slightly now. Possibly baiting the young player. But yeah, saw Zaha step up. He's got arms like Mr. Tickle. By the time he let go of the ball, it looked like his wrist was on 2 metres, and he's able to sneak it past the Queensland goalkeeper. So at 1 miss apiece, we've got De Jong coming back up. Slotted a couple in that last quarter. And he does so again. Chow trying to go low as he did the last time. And De Jong backing himself to shoot high. You do see a lot of players try and favour the bounce shot. It's typically a little bit safer, less likely to push it over the top of the cage. But De Jong not nervous at all there. Throws it top right immediately. Rajandra backing in for Singapore. Oh, he's unlucky. Marquardt there managed to touch it. And it's the most animated I've seen the young goalkeeper today. He's smiling a little bit. Splashed himself. He knew he was close. He'd read it pretty well. As we said already today, doesn't matter if it's ugly, as long as it goes in. Angus Cope, number 10, coming back up for Queensland. And he's thrown the donut. It's a confident, ballsy move there. Manages to get the donut bar down. And he hasn't even afforded himself a smile yet. He kicks underwater. Maybe he's having a bit of a giggle under there. But stone-faced Cope, great goal. And that's Wenze Gao stepping up, and he puts it on the cage again. So that's 2 misses for Gao. He did manage to score quite a bit in that game, so he'll be disappointed. And that's one of those things that players are going to be sitting on thinking about for the rest of the week. So after a very exciting match, back and forth lead, and going to penalty shootout, it's University of Queensland able to take 5th place of Super League this year. 23 goals to 22. And a really good fight from both teams after a large commute. Slightly larger for the Singapore. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name's been Nick Watkins. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, please let Water Polo New South Wales know. If you haven't been impressed, you can let them know as well. I'm always open to feedback. We're getting ready for the women's 3rd grade grand final. And elsewhere on the Water Polo New South Wales YouTube, you'll be able to find the rest of the semi-finals for Super League today, as well as second grade later on. Thanks so much for joining in. We'll see you next time.